Hey, ladies. So, for those of you who are new to this space, my name's Jenny Glick. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified sex therapist. But in this space, I'm a relationship mentor for women who feel stuck in their relationships. And one of the interesting phenomena that I experienced as a clinician in a traditional practice for over 15 years was always having this week after Mother's Day. So all of my clients, those 2 weeks after Mother's Day, they would come in, the women, not the men. Sometimes the men would talk about it from their perspective, but the women would come in and say to me, many of them, how terrible Mother's Day was, that it was crappy because they didn't feel seen, that they asked their husband, their partner, and I'm going to say husband because generally I would hear this from couples in heterosexual relationships. That was more typical than in same-sex relationships. And so the women would say, he completely dropped the ball or didn't even say Happy Mother's Day at all. And this from many women, and this might be you too, who don't really care that much. They were like, I'm not a huge Mother's Day person, but do something for me, right? Like show up in some way for me, or a card, or I told him that I would want to go out to brunch, or I told him I'd want flowers, but for there to be nothing, and then the kids are arguing, and then they would talk about how they would make an effort on Father's Day and have the kids make something and do a cake or do an activity, and just feeling like there was so much, misalignment together as a couple and how it was that they were honoring and celebrating what the other person brought to the relationship. And so if you're listening to this and if you had a crappy Mother's Day, and if today you're in that hungover place of it kind of sucked, and maybe you've talked to some of your girlfriends who've said, yeah, same thing, kind of sucked, and that it's not unique to this time when people are on lockdown. Likely this has happened before, and so it's not new to this moment, though maybe this moment made it a little more difficult because it's a little more difficult to get your favorite flowers or to get the cake or whatever the thing is, to go out to brunch, right? So if you're someone who had a crappy Mother's Day, then here's what you need to know, is that what Mother's Day does, very much like an anniversary or your birthday or a holiday, is that it highlights parts of the system of your relationship that you normally don't have to look at as much, right? So it highlights parts of the system. It highlights parts of your expectations. It highlights your communication dynamic. It highlights the habituated story or lens that you walk around with that might be annoyance or resentment or anger. A lot of women who I work with talk about sort of feeling almost hypervigilant, like they're just scanning the environment for the next thing that he's going to do wrong. Like they just know he's going to step in it and just waiting for it to happen. And so there's this anticipatory annoyance, right? Sort of all day long. And so if that is you, number one, that's typical, right? And number two, wouldn't it be amazing to liberate yourself from that kind of suffering? Because it's no way to live. It's to me, and I don't know if this is a function of age or a function of wisdom or what it's a function of, but as I get older and grow more and learn more, I become less tolerant to spending any of my days in self-imposed suffering. And I say self-imposed because many of us are so habituated in scanning the environment for the fail of our partner We're so practiced at that. And if you're like the women who I work with who have been married for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, they have a whole lot of muscle memory around scanning the environment for not being told Happy Mother's Day, for their partner going for a bike ride instead of helping the kids clean the kitchen, whatever the situation might be. And I'm not saying that those structural things shouldn't be discussed or possibly realigned, but probably the way that you're discussing them or realigning them are in a way that is pointing the finger and is strengthening more of that habit that you have of blame, shame, contempt, and criticism. And when I strengthen that, I'm just going to get more of it. Yeah. Hi, Colleen. Colleen says, this is something that I say with the women who I work with, is that it's like Siri, right? Like your mind is like Siri. And you say to your mind, hey, Siri, tell me all the reasons I should be mad at my husband. Thank you, Colleen. Totally. And Siri pops right up and says, oh, let me tell you. You told him you like tulips and he brought you roses. He decided to go for an early morning bike ride and left you with the kids. You didn't get to sleep in this morning and you always let him sleep in on Father's Day, right? Siri will tell you, and you've trained those neuronal pathways to go in those directions. And man, they are ready. They're like, come on, bring it, right? Like, let's go there. And so part of the process of transformation is getting honest with yourself in a way that may be terribly uncomfortable. And I'm okay with that, right? Because we are leaders of our own transformation. And the longer we wait around for someone else to remember the tulips, the longer I wait around. And while I'm waiting, there's no waiting. What there is practicing doing the same thing, the same pattern that you've been doing for days, years, decades in your mind and your heart with your partner. And so you're strengthening contempt, annoyance, resentment, and your partner is doing their thing, and you're feeding this cycle. And that's where it is that we feel so stuck. And then when we do try to have the conversation with our partner, it's an explosion. And it's like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe, how could you knew it was today. I told you that we were getting something for your mother, right? And like all of those conversations, who in here has had those, right? I've had those in the past, right? I spent many, many years sort of dreading Mother's Day, honestly, because there was such an expectation, not even a big expectation for something fancy, but just an expectation for ease, an expectation to be seen, right? And the thing is that I cannot ask a system to see me or have ease if that is not what I have been contributing to create for all the days that have led up to it. It's like, eating cakes and cookies and chips all the way up to the weigh-in. Like, I'm not going to get weighed and be a svelte 115 pounds. It's not going to happen, right? And so if you had a really tough Mother's Day, firstly, I get it. And it's painful. I hear that. And what's so painful is that it shows up the parts of your relationship with yourself, possibly with your children and with your partner, that are in misalignment, right? So they're like torqued and twisted. And having to look at that is really painful. And it's painful because pain is an indicator that something needs to change. And that something starts with us. That something starts with us, which is not the most popular answer. But again, I use a lot of metaphors with weight loss because, like, having to exercise and like change my diet as I'm starting to get closer to 50 is not a popular answer, right? But it's just the answer. It's part of what I need to do, right? Colleen says, it's such a huge relief to have put all that negativity and pain down. I'm living in my new stories now and life is so good. I know, isn't it so good, Colleen? You're like such a walking success story of shifting that, because the pain of living, it's self-imposed pain that we don't even recognize. We don't see because it seems so apparent that it's the other person. It's so apparent that it's the other person, you know. And I'll share with you yesterday, when I woke up a little later than I normally wake up, and my husband was just leaving to go surfing because the surf was happening and he was going to go surf, which is fine. And I don't care, but I could feel the old story in me, and I teach this, like I know this, but I could feel it. And it was so cool to like feel the story knocking, like somehow he shouldn't go do that thing because it's Mother's Day, when Lord knows we spend all of our time together given the current life circumstances, right? So who cares if he leaves for 2 hours? He's going to come back and we're going to spend all the next, I don't know, month, however long, 18 months, whatever it is, together. But I could feel that old story wanting to come, and to notice that, like, whoa, wow, I used to live there, live in that. And that would be the very first thing, right? That first story, like who would do that? That he went surfing, and why did he not do this? And he didn't do this. And the kind of thing he got me wasn't what. And all of the energy that we can put into that. And when we do that, what we're doing is we totally abandon ourselves, right? We abandon ourselves to have an honest relationship with ourselves in the moment, and to honor like whatever this other person's doing to take care of himself. And how many of us as women have a hard time making choices to take care of ourselves, right? That we put everybody else first. I just talked to a woman who said this to me today, and she said, I put everybody else first and I put myself last, and I'm going to start putting myself first in a month or 2 months. Down the road, I'll do it, but not right now. And what are the chances, right? I mean, maybe we will, but whatever we're practicing today is what we're going to get tomorrow. And so practicing putting yourself first, right, might look like when your partner says, I'm going surfing, I'm going for a bike ride, you know, whatever the thing is, it's not about not naming the disappointment in the moment, but it is about recognizing I'm not going to abandon myself to stew in disappointment for the next 14, 16 hours. I'm going to take a leadership role in my life and recognize if I have hurt, and then recognize, oh, my partner and I have not created a good mechanism of conversing about hurt. It's a fight. I bring it up and he yells, and then I get small or I get loud, and it's an argument. So then I learn to like shut it down. How many women like strangle themselves by not speaking what's going on? And so then you don't say, and you're sitting on it all day long, right? That is no way to live, in my estimation, right? In my humble estimation. Part of the shift that's required is recognizing that you deserve to live with this open, and to say, and we get to say, wow, I feel a little disappointed. And I also get you want to go do this thing, which makes a lot of sense because the weather is beautiful or the conditions are right or whatever. And I know you're going to come back and make me breakfast or whatever the situation is, to be able to be present to all of it. And we just are good at being, it's not that we're not good, we're not trained, we're not practiced at being good at seeing all of it, the disappointment, the understanding, the excitement, the curiosity, the frustration, the past hurt. Like there's so much there. But what we are practice doing is creating a camp around one piece, right? So I'm going to create a camp around this. And then I'm going to do the thing that Colleen said, right? Which is like your head's like Siri. Siri, why else should I be mad? This has been happening for 15 years and I can't believe, and every time, right? And there we go. And we camp out there and then we don't ever get to explore the other parts of our humanity. And here's the thing is that you are a co-creator in life. Like there's you and you're creating your experience of life with life that's handing you all kinds of stuff, right? Through your children, through your partner, through what's happening globally right now. Like there's so much coming at us with the particular, social situation that you have or were born into, to, all the things that we have. That's life, right? That's the life that you have. And we're co-creators in that. And so when I start taking 100% accountability for my part, because I don't know what life is going to bring. Life is bringing all kinds of crazy stuff I did not anticipate the last couple of months, right? So life is bringing that in. I get to be the co-creator by bringing my part. And if the part that you're bringing is disappointment and anger, if it's in that camp of contempt, then you know where that is going to take you in life, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in your business, whatever it is, right? I say in here often that your marriage is your ashram because it will show up these parts in you if you are willing to have eyes to see it. And it requires so much courage. I have so much love and respect for the women who choose to step onto their own growth path and really look at what their marriage and their lives, what Mother's Day is showing up in them. Because it's all there. Your curriculum for your growth is all there. It's whether or not you're willing to see it, right? And when you see it, we take a deep breath, right? And we recognize, we evaluate the stories we've been telling ourselves. We evaluate the ways that we've been showing up, what we've been practicing. And then for some people, not all people, but for some, they say, you know what? I want to start conditioning a different experience. I want to co-create life because life's coming. Life's just coming. Here it comes, right? Life's coming at me. So as life comes, I want to bring something where there might be some kind of alchemy going on there for the miraculous, for something marvelous, for something unknown. Right? Here's the crazy thing is sometimes one of the unconscious reasons why we park in contempt and anger is it is so familiar and predictable. You know exactly how that day is going to go. You know exactly how you're going to feel. You know exactly what kind of sex you're not going to be having, right? Because you're camped out here, so you don't have to think about it. It's very predictable. And when we start owning our part of the co-creation 100%, life becomes a little unpredictable because I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to go if I say to my husband, part of me feels a little sad that you're going surfing. And I totally get it, why you're going. And I have this weird expectation that you should be here for no apparent reason, but I just do, right? That's an unexpected conversation that will create something new for most people if you haven't been having conversations like that with your partner, right? Because it will feel more open because you're coming at it in an open way where you're more willing to name all the different parts. So if your Mother's Day was crappy, I'm sorry for that because Lord knows nobody needs one more crappy day. And if you want next Mother's Day to be happy and not crappy, do you like that play on words I did there? Then you start practicing now, right? That's how next year it changes. That's how you start working the muscle like Colleen. Like Colleen is experiencing a huge relief. Why? Because she started doing something different. And when she started doing something different, and there was a lot of ripping and gnashing and all the things that happen when we embark on change, it's uncomfortable. Today I was doing a workout class here at home, like all of us, right? And we were doing burpees. And I really don't like burpees. And as I'm like on the what felt like 100th burpee, right? I'm doing the physical thing and my mind is like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this, right? And that's the point where we want to stop. But because I have a good teacher, the teacher pointed out, notice your thinking, right? And notice what that's doing. And we're just going to keep going. And it's the same with this. You know, some women decide, I don't want to do this on my own. I need a container. Goodness knows I need a container for physical fitness. Otherwise, I will not do anything. I mean, I'll walk, I might run a block or two, but I just won't. But if I have someone who's holding that space for me so that when my mind starts saying, this is dumb, why am I doing burpees? Who cares? I'll just start wearing a lot of clothes all the time. I'll buy stretchy pants and only wear those, right? But the coach helps me get through those parts, those practice parts that we all have in our head that say, just stop. Don't do this. It's too hard. Nobody cares. You're not putting on that much weight. It doesn't matter. You know, you're almost 50. I'm not that. I mean, I am. 3 years, I'll be 50, but you know, I'm closer to 50 than 40. So, and so if I was going to listen to those thoughts, right? Those thoughts would take me right back into, you know, that's me saying to my mind of Siri, Siri, why should I stop doing this? Because it doesn't matter. Because who cares, right? And it's the same with this process of your own growth, your own development, your own willingness to build the life that you want. But you have to want to challenge yourself rather than living in your own suffering. And so I feel like, and if you're in this space, my guess is you also feel like we shouldn't live in any more suffering, nor should we contribute to the suffering of anybody else for one more day, least of all our families, our children, and our partners, whomever we live with and interact with. So I will post a link if you're interested in having a conversation with me, if you want to get clear on where it is that you're stuck, if you want to get clear on whatever habit, whatever thing is happening for you that keeps you having the same crappy Mother's Day every year. And for those of you who are in the space of you have a huge relief and you have these tools and practices, bravo you. Bravo you that you got to experience a different kind of Mother's Day and or have the awareness, right? Because this is a practice because it's a practice. It's like a yoga practice, right? It's not like you do all the yoga, then you stop doing yoga. You do all the yoga and then you deepen in the practice. And it's the same thing with this. When we start seeing our marriage as our ashram, as our place to grow, which is really life, right? Life is our ashram. It's our place to grow and we're all being stretched. And so every day becomes a practice, whether it's Mother's Day or your birthday or whatever it is. Every day is a practice. It's not about getting to some destination. It's about learning how to resource your breath, your mind, your feelings, your heart. It's about how to learn how to listen to yourself, how to attune to yourself, how to speak the words that you have to speak and to create a container that holds you and your partner. It's about collaborating with your partner to create an experience of mutuality. That's the point, and that's the practice every single day that we get to engage in. And there's no place that we arrive, right? We just keep practicing, we keep pivoting, we keep shifting. So lovely to have this time with you all today. I wish you so much health and safety and adventure, and may you be blessed with so many miracles this week. And I will look forward to seeing you very soon.